the advice of my dean, stand right here, so it's not so intimidating up here. Thank you, Nikki and Tuomi, for inviting me to speak. This is a great opportunity for me, but I have to tell you, when Nikki first asked me to come and speak at this diversity reception, everything in me wanted to say no. But because I'm so committed to the cause that she has, professional development, and providing those tools to young attorneys and to law students, I begrudgingly said, okay, I will come and speak. And the reason why it was a hesitant yes is because, you see, for as long as I can remember, have been terrified of public speaking. When I was a little girl, the worst time of any year was at Easter. And that's because at my local church, all the children every year had to recite an Easter speech in front of the entire congregation. And this was my absolute worst nightmare. I would lie awake in bed at night, thinking about this day, dreading it as it came along. And when the day finally came and everybody else was excited about the Easter bunny and candy and baskets, I was thinking about this speech and how I was going to get through it. And I would get through it and I would say, thank God that's over. At least I don't have to worry about that for at least another year. And as I progressed throughout, my college and my law school into my professional career, I've been asked at various times to come and do speeches or presentations. And I've always been bombarded with this gripping fear of speaking in front of audience more than 2 people. But interesting enough, I've always really wanted to be a great public speaker. I've seen great public speakers in the past, and I've always thought, oh, I want to be just like that person. And I think that's because deep down inside, I always knew that overcoming this fear and developing this skill was going to be essential to my life's work. And as I moved from my traditional practice into a career in professional development, I found that that is true for me. So here I am. I've ignored all the voices in my head to tell me to go sit down. And I'm standing before you to try to impart, my little bit of knowledge to you as you embark on your legal career. And so as I was thinking about what I was going to say to you today, I thought about all of the cliched advice I'd heard throughout my legal education and my legal career. And while this advice is true in many situations, I think it's not very applicable in the legal industry and in your legal career at certain times. And so the first piece of advice that I want you to question, or I want to challenge you, is the piece of advice that you often hear that you need to get out of your comfort zone in order to be successful. Many people will tell you that the success of your legal career will hinge on your ability to stretch yourself, to take risks, to feel the fear and do it anyway, or my new favorite, to lean in. But before you feel the fear and do it anyway, I want you to pause and ask yourself, why am I afraid? Maybe your fear just comes from being uncomfortable with a particular activity, like myself with public speaking, and you just need to practice and learn to get over that, right? But maybe your fear is a reflection of a feeling deeper that you're not really connected to the legal path that you've chosen. There's a fine line between stepping out of one's comfort zone and being true to yourself. If you consistently don't take risks with your career or bypass opportunities to take your career to the next level, you may need to reevaluate the path that you're on. I had to do this about 3 years ago when I transitioned from a career, traditional legal practice, to my current practice in the field of professional development. Because at the end of the day, if you don't feel passionate about what you're doing, all the leaning in and all the taking the bull by the horns and all of that stuff is not going to matter, because everything you do will feel and be received as inauthentic. 3 years ago, if you had asked me to do a speech, I would have never said yes. But because I'm now in a realm where I feel like I have something to give to people, I've gone ahead and taken this risk and gotten out of my comfort zone to provide you with my knowledge. So that brings me to my second point. So you say, Kourtney, I've done some self-reflection, I've asked myself why, and I've decided to commit to a particular career path and fully, walk down it and fully lean in. So what you may do is then go out and exercise the age-old adage, practice makes perfect, right? We've all heard that before. You're gonna go out, you're gonna work hard, you're gonna practice with all your might, hoping to perfect your craft. But again, I wanna say that this can be deceiving in the legal industry. Practicing something over and over again only makes perfect unless you perfected your practice. So in essence, only perfect practice makes perfect. The legal industry is notorious, specifically big law, for not having systems in place to provide critical feedback to young associates. People will often tell you when you've done something extremely well, but they will rarely tell you when you've done something wrong or point out your weaknesses. So if the onus is on you to actively, early and often in your career, seek out critical feedback, not just to perfect your strengths, but to shore up your weaknesses so that you have a well-rounded skill set. So this issue reminds me of a former mentor of mine. The summer before I entered law school, I went to a reception for law students, a diversity reception, much like this one, and I heard a female attorney speak at that reception. And I was completely blown away with her. I was completely impressed. She had a storied background. She had 3 Harvard degrees. She was currently the general counsel of a minority-owned bank. And I thought, this is a person I want to, emulate my career after. So I sought her out to be a mentor. And later on that summer, we were having lunch, and I began to ask her about her career and how she got into the place that she'd gotten to. And she told me that prior to becoming the general counsel of this bank, she was a senior associate at a high-powered New York law firm. And she was very candid with me in telling me that she left that law firm because she did not make partner. And when I asked her why she did not make partner, she really didn't have a good reason to tell me. She told me she didn't know why. She had worked hard, she was committed, she had given her all, but things just didn't pan out. So she went to pursue other opportunities. Well, 2 weeks later, I was at her former law firm at another reception, and I was talking to some current associates at that law firm. And when the conversation turned to her, they told me that the reason why this person didn't make partner was because she had never developed beyond a second-year level associate. When the partners and people were doling out work, they would send her second-year and third-year work, even though she was an 8th-year associate. So by the time she came up for partner, they said that she just didn't have the skills to fill that role. And I was really shocked by this. I was shocked that they knew why she didn't make partner, but she didn't. And it occurred to me, why didn't anyone tell her this? Surely, she's had mentors, surely she's had reviews. Why didn't anyone say this to her? And the answer is no one told her this. And she still doesn't know probably to this day why she didn't make partner at this firm. So in essence, they let her practice imperfectly for 8 years, doing the same mistakes over and over again, instead of telling her when she could be able to correct those mistakes. So I tell this to you that the onus is on you again to seek out critical feedback, because if you are practicing so you can make perfect, make sure that you're not making mistakes over and over again, because you can be practicing mistakes. What you want to be doing is practicing your skill at the highest level that you can. So finally, this brings me to my third point, which is another phrase that you often hear. Throughout your life, you've heard the phrase that you should not worry about what other people are doing. You should just focus on your own self, focus on your efforts, work hard, and that's going to make you, successful in life. I feel like this is especially true in minority communities. Many times I was told by my parents to, just work hard, Kourtney, put your hands to the plow, put your head down, produce good work quality, and that's going to help you succeed. Again, I challenge this in the legal industry. In fact, I think it's very important for all young attorneys to put their heads above the sands and look around at their colleagues to see what they're doing. If John is the same year level associate as you and he's getting tapped over and over again to do depots and you're not, you need to ask yourself why. If Jane is asked to take the lead on conference call negotiations and you're not, you need to investigate that. Just like the legal industry is notorious for not giving critical feedback to his associates, it's also notorious for pigeonholing young attorneys. You don't want to be known as the doc review maven or the due diligence queen past a certain level in your career. If my former mentor had kind of taken a poll of her contemporaries and seen what they were doing, she might have seen that she wasn't on pace with where they were, without someone explicitly having to tell her that. So again, you have to be your own best mentor. In addition to seeking out critical feedback, you need to pursue work opportunities that are going to help you develop this well-rounded skill set. So in conclusion, again, I challenge you to question the age-old advice that you may have received throughout your life. Before you step out of your comfort zone, ask yourself why you're uncomfortable. Before you practice until you're perfect, make sure that you're seeking out critical feedback to perfect your practice. And before you stick your head in the sand and just work until your heart's content, make sure periodically you look around and you see what other people are doing so that you can compare your progress. And then seek out opportunities to make sure that you are, filling any deficiencies or gaps in your progress. Thankfully, that is the end of my speech. And unlike when I was a little girl, now that I'm an adult, at the end of my speech, I can go have a drink.